I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our regular meeting of May 21st, commission meeting. We will start with additions to the agenda. Hold on a minute here with my. Okay, we'll start with Christy.
Just a, update on the department head meeting.
Ernie?
Northeast 9, we'll talk about that.
Danny?
Nothing.
Amy? Nothing. Christy?
Just what we have.
And then I have, a couple things. And Tanya is gonna be coming up. I'm mentioning this for Tanya. She will be coming up and we're gonna add this to our agenda. We're gonna talk about the volunteer policy that we've been looking at. We're gonna talk about COLA today. She has some numbers and sick leave. And then we're gonna talk about the logo contest that we talked about last time. And then at the end, we'll talk about budget meeting dates when those are set. And I think that's it. Okay, if everyone has read the regular meetings for the May 7th commission meeting and looked at the monthly bills, can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So,
Second. Any additions or questions about that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Also, I wanted to remind everybody that we are on Zoom today. And so if each person would indicate whether they would like to speak, that would be great. Okay, anybody here for employee time? Doesn't look right, we do. So I think we'll move on to our 9-10 agenda item with Mr. Slamod and Dennis Larson from City of Park River.
Thank you.
Yep.
I did submit a photograph to the auditor, but I think this one will be a little bit more, this one's in color, so at least gives a little more definition as to what we'll be addressing today. The city of Park River is currently in the process of upgrading its power system in the city of Park River, and one of the places in which we would be seeking to bury a above ground power line is by County Shop 3. I do have Dennis Larson with me. If you guys have any questions for him, I'm going to be addressing the request and what the legal requirements are for the city of Park River that we need to go forward with that. I have went through vast amounts of real estate records, and it doesn't look like there was ever an easement put on this place. We're finding that a lot. We're undergoing 3 projects within the city of Park River for the burying of above ground cable lines. I think once upon a time, people just asked, do you want power? I think they said yes, and no one signed an easement on that. Being as we are moving into the future, I've advised the city that an easement is always best, so everyone knows where that's at. Any encumbrance upon the property should it ever be sold. What the city of Park River is requesting prior to us putting any shovels in the ground, obviously, would be an easement from the county so we can bury this above ground cable line. I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Johnston, informed him of it and our intention to come to the meeting today. and ask for an easement from the county to bury this line. I guess Jason, when I spoke with him, he can confer that he had no issue with the project and gets the overhead line out of their way. We are in the process of talking with KLJ to get a actual legal description for that easement, so it complies with recorder, with that down at the recorder's office, so she has an actual legal description, so we know the metes and bounds of that property. We'd be looking for a 20-foot easement for the burying of that cable. Obviously, this would be no cost to the county. This would be borne by the city of Park River for the deed preparation, or the easement preparation, the survey, and the burying of the cable. So that's what we are asking from the county today. We're at the beginning stages of it, kind of going around telling people what our intention is before we even have KLJ on the line. I guess if there's any questions as to the scope of the project, I would refer that to Dennis if there is any questions from the commission on that.
Any questions?
When would you start?
Hopefully in July.
Okay.
We'll want to get it done this fall,
Yeah, good, yep.
before it turns out.
And you bear all the expense?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that would be for the cost of the preparation of the easement, for the survey, and the actual project itself.
Any more questions? Yes.
So the easement would basically just state an easement on this 20-foot strip.
Yep, for the duration of the property in which it would encompass.
How deep do you bury it?
Minimum of 42 inches.
Okay.
For the high voltage ones.
And Jason, you said, I mean, you have no concern from that.
I'm very powerless or always appreciate it. One less thing I worry about will be, but
I would make a motion to allow the city of Park River to bury the electrical cable and the county give them an easement to do so on the 20-foot strip.
Okay. And then once I have that prepared from KLG, I will present that to the commission for signature then.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the roll. Benny,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Chrissy,
Yes.
Ernie.
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you guys burying somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Project with that, sure. Thanks.
Dennis is gonna do it before he retires.
Well, we already did retire.
Yeah.
I know, he didn't retire and then he goes. Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's, Amy isn't, on the agenda till 9:20, so let's, Christy, you want to give us a department head?
Sure. We just look, well, I was gonna talk about local, but it sounds like Tanya is going to visit about that, right?
Well, I don't.
And that's
She
fine.
minds either.
She just wanted it brought up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to-
Yep.
Okay, so, it was discussed at our department head, at the department head meeting that, our county should have a logo. You know, something we can kind of brand ourselves with. So the discussion was, we'd like to put it out to the public, especially the schools, different places. Tanya was going to advertise it to the schools, I think in the newspaper and on Facebook as well. And just put an invite out there for people to submit logo or send us logo submissions. And we felt with that we need to have some kind of reward if one is selected, so there would be $100 prize. So I believe that information is already all went out. She wanted to get it out to the schools before they concluded for the year. I don't remember the deadline. She can maybe
June
tell us.
15th.
Is it the 15th, June 15th?
So you gonna have a committee then to pick?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we'll
we'll-
have a committee to
yeah.
select.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make sure that the commission was fine with the $100 prize. We felt that we had to do something, so. All right,
Christy, yeah, and I'll just add that this logo, I mean, there's a logo, or not even a logo, but a stamp that the county uses that's from way back, but we don't have an official logo, but it would be nice to have that to be put on our marketing, and advertising thing that we're gonna be using, and, just be nice to have them.
right, and our new website.
Yeah.
When we go to the website redesign.
How deep are you going? Are you gonna change the signs on the county vehicles?
No, that has nothing to do with the logo.
Yeah, okay.
So. Okay,
The other thing is, I'm not sure if anybody's coming up, but there was a request for the July 3rd. Jason, do you know if anyone was coming up to talk about that?
I don't think so, the 5th of July.
Or excuse me, 5th of July. So it was brought up at the meeting, one of the department heads brought up that they've been hearing some requests to get July 5th off, that the employees would like July 5th off as a day of administrative leave. They don't feel it's going to be very busy in the courthouse, and I guess they were just asking if there was any way they could have that day off. I guess I reminded them that a few years back, we made the decision to follow the state holiday policy, and we weren't going to deal with this. You know, can I have the day after Thanksgiving off anymore, or the day after the 4th of July? But that's not my decision solely. That was a decision that was made a couple of years ago, so I'm just bringing it forth to the commission. And then they said if they're not allowed to have the 5th off to totally close down the courthouse, they said, can we close certain departments? Or how do we want to handle it? Or do we just want to follow policy as is, which was follow the state holidays every other day? We're open, and if you want the day off, you have to take a day of vacation.
Ernie,
I remember years back, I don't know how many of you were here, I think Karen, you might have been, remember? I think what we did, I don't know, years ago, we told them that if they wanted the 5th off, they use their own time. And we wanted to make sure that there was at least one person in each office, so the courthouse was open. You remember that?
yeah,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's, I'm just saying that's what we did years back.
and we have talked about that before, I think,
Yeah.
even between the treasurer's office and the auditor's office, as long as somebody is here, like say there's nobody in the treasurer's office, that at least when somebody comes up, someone in the auditor's office can say, sorry, we're closed today, could you come back another time? We'll meet him, or if we could do business with you some way, help them. Amy?
I mean, healthcare is something that can be really difficult too, because you almost feel like you always have to be open. So another side of that, I know my sister, where she works at the clinic, they have changed a policy where it's the day before, the day after that they recognize. I kind of agree with the state holiday, but I guess my encouragement would be that the departments look at a rotating schedule. If you have so many in your department, and if there's 5, then you have to work. And then, I remember working where it's like, your holidays ahead of time, the whole year, and maybe Thanksgiving means nothing to someone, and someone else is like, I'd rather work that than this. So they can work it out amongst the departments and not feel like
Yeah.
they all have to be here, but yet we at least have coverage, and we're not having to change a policy that, we really, it's just easier to follow instead of getting murky. That's, I guess, my opinion.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think they can work that out between themselves with a rotating schedule like that, but. Remember, they're getting the 4th of July off, they get all those holidays off, and we're accountable to our constituents, and they're supposed to be working. If they want to take the day off, take the day off, and just so if the courthouse is open, they can rotate their schedule and decide themselves.
You got a couple that only a 1-person office. So they're gonna have to in case over there, let somebody know that they won't be there or something and answer the phone or whatever, but yeah, I agree with you.
And I don't mean to interrupt Ernie, but we need to start putting this on the website for people,
Yeah.
so people can know somehow. Okay, yeah, not everybody has a computer and will go on the website to see if we're open on July 5th. But I think we need to start encouraging department heads to put it on the schedule, put it on our website.
And I think once the website is up and easier to use, then that would be the goal and the expectation of departments, right? To communicate so that the public is aware, and maybe those 1 people office, is it just to forward their phone for that day, and we don't expect.
Yep.
I know my thing, the reason that it helps with departments rotating that, so it's not the same person. I always want the 4th of July off, and then that's not fair to others. At least if it's your holiday that year, you can work it out amongst your department, but it's not just they always take it off, and then no one else can, kind of thing.
Yep, and to put it on the website, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, so we can put it, it's. The courthouse is open, but we might be should, so.
So just, leave it as is, we'll follow the state policy. They can close departments, but they have to ensure there's coverage, I
Yes.
mean, if it's a one-person
Yep.
department, but ensure there's coverage, just like when they have to take a normal day off.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay, all right.
Jason would like, yes, Jason.
So for Black Friday, we were allowed to make sure all the things were transferred to my cell phone, so we weren't here in the office. Would that still be acceptable? I'd still be basically available to anybody that called the office without being here. If that were hanging out, we got on the road, looking at something anyways, but I just wanna make sure that's still.
I would think that's, you know, part of the whole thing too, yeah. Yeah.
Accessibility.
Yeah,
Okay, the other thing that was brought up at the department head meeting, there was a request, with the upcoming budget process now. There was a request that we get to the department heads, if we're going to do a step increase, they're asking this of the commissioners. They said, we need to know sooner, are you guys going to allow a step increase? What are you looking at for a COLA? And then also health insurance, but that one I think would be really tough. But they're looking at health insurance as well. They also asked, so I did talk to Tanya and asked if she could come in today and update us on where we're at with COLAs.
Yeah.
And we'll have to look at the step increases as well. The other thing they asked is if we could change our policy on how, when we do the budget and we meet with the department heads, and then afterwards, we maybe make some cuts. But we don't meet with those department heads when we're making cuts. I fully agree with this. They're asking if we could meet with them before we make the cuts, because maybe we're cutting something out of their budget that they're like, oh, wait, hey, if you gotta cut 5,000, I don't want it taken out of that fund line. I want it out of a different one. So I think it's just good if we can work with them. It's gonna take a little more organizing, but I don't know how you guys all feel about that, but that was the request.
More input, the better, in my opinion.
Right. So something to keep in mind. And that's about it.
okay, any questions on the department head meeting? Okay, hearing none, we'll move along to Katie.
I'm back, we'll maybe go through the Keys Security World, issue first, if that's okay. I don't recall what was on the agenda. We have, multiple doors on the fair building, and so all of the walk-through ones for individual human beings, we would like to, change the locks. I've been trying to lock that place up. And the double doors, when you first walk in, we've got the Christmas garden to the west and then the fair building and arena to the east. If you pull hard enough, those doors just pop open. So I think that we need to do something that's gonna be a better long-term solution for that. The door directly across from that to the south, I keep locking that every single time I'm up there. And I come back and it's unlocked. I don't know who is unlocking it, but I'm getting very frustrated. I've been checking the water, checking the locker rooms to make sure the heat is off. Those have all been fine, but there continues to be one stall in the women's bathroom that is continually vandalized, or like, it's just disgusting. So I'm really frustrated. There's no reason for anybody to be in there at this point of the year. So, I had contacted Keith Lock and Key, or Keith Security World out of Grand Forks, to see if there was something that we could do so that only certain individuals could make copies of keys. So I'm proposing that it's either myself or Jason, being he's highway department and buildings and grounds supervisor. I think that would cut down quite a bit. And then we would request, I believe it's, we had all of these different doors, how we want them keyed up. So I think I'll have to go through this a little more closely with Greg, who's my contact at Keys Security World. But we would like to have certain locks where only the arena manager who runs the Zamboni to have a lock to a particular door. And then like our hockey coaches, our figure skating coaches, and then our fair board president, fair manager, myself, Sarah, our support staff, Jason, we would like them to have keys that can access the different areas. just so that we can get the security under control, especially in the off season. During the season, there's a lot of eyes up there to monitor things. And we did lock the doors between like the main arena and then the static building on the north end. There was no damage done back there for the first time ever. I hate to not allow kids to do it, but if we don't have coaches supervising and being responsible, we just can't have that. There's been too much damage done. It's costing organizations too much money. So we've got this quote that, I believe it has been shared. If it hasn't, we will make sure that happens, but it's $3,087.34 to rekey the place or install new locks. We have, I believe it's $20,000 in the fair building budget that can cover this expense. And I understand that we don't know the long-term prognosis of our building, but we at least need to do something in the meantime. We're hoping to get a few more years out of it, if not more. I think this would be a wise investment of that money to ensure the capital.
We still have to keep it secure, no
Right.
matter what.
Yes.
Any question? Amy?
So when you say the doors on the north side there, that they can just be open, that's not like the doors are shut. I mean, you do think new locks will take care of that? I just would hate to see.
That, they think that they've got a locking mechanism or system
Okay.
that they can install on those doors. And so that has been installed. We haven't gone through everything quite in detail. I just wanted to know if we were able to do this, but I'll walk through every single door to know what the plan is for each of those. There's only one walk-in door that we would not replace, and that's on the north side of the beef barn. The highway department uses that, and I've never had a problem with that not being locked. But then they can still access it, and we don't have to give them too many more keys.
Right.
So,
They do a good job with, if you're organized with who and what you want, they keep multiple different ways, so it's pretty amazing what they can do with that, but yeah, I just have to be really organized.
yeah,
Well, they won't put a lock on it and have the door just come open. I mean, everything will,
right.
they'll make sure that everything is secure before they do
Yeah.
that, so.
And I think, they had an individual that went through and rekeyed the place a few years ago, but anybody can make copies of those keys. That is the problem. Is we have too many keys out there. We can't get them all back.
Yeah.
And I just would hate for something to be turned on by kids that are just mischievous. They don't intend for something big and catastrophic to happen, but that can happen in an old building, and I just don't want that to happen. I don't want anyone hurt. So I feel a lot better about this.
Do I have a motion to accept this proposal from Katie?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Christie?
Yes.
Ernie?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carried.
Okay. On my window front, we have not had a single contractor come in yet, but I did run into one this morning at the middle office. And he said he was planning to come today to look at it. So at this point, we're just going to work with the highway department to order 2 windows for my office. And then we're gonna see what this particular contractor recommends, if we should replace all of them or just the 2. And because I don't want to replace a window if they're good, but if there's a way that we can insulate or improve the longevity of them, then we'll have a plan moving forward. So
And those are all original windows, correct?
they are not.
They aren't.
We found out that they were put in 1983, or that's somehow Jim at Leon's was able to find that out based on the serial number on them.
Well,
But I was thinking like, okay, the building was built in
40 years,
72.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But they have like that white, like stucco material around them, so I thought they must have maybe had a larger window, and then it wasn't economical to keep those large windows that maybe weren't as well insulated, so that's what I'm thinking, but
we'll find out. So RJ Sanders is coming today, and I'm hoping that we can get some other local contractors to give us a quote, but if he's all we get, I think we might have to just proceed.
Well, he's one of the best, plus you can't wait all summer to get another
Right.
quote from somebody.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if you drive by, the plastic keeps dripping off in the wind, so
Yeah,
I keep trying to put it back up, but,
And work
yeah,
in there.
it's very cold. So I'm anxious for summer weather for a while anyway, so.
okay, we don't need to
Yeah,
have,
we already did that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so, just wanted to follow up.
update, okay, thanks.
Any follow-up on the situation and the extension?
We have not yet, we've had only one contractor take a
Yeah.
look at it.
Yep.
There's not really a good time to do it,
Yeah,
so I think, if we were to reach out to some other contractors, it might be a good winter project. But
it's on your list.
it's on the list, yes, but the doors are in, the electronic doors are in and paid for by the NDSU pesticide program, and they have been wonderful and very much appreciated by our aging population and anybody with the, disability of any kind, so
Good,
appreciate that.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go with Jason next.
Just got a couple items. I got this yesterday, so it's not in your packet. I don't know if we can move forward on that at all. So I wanted to provide it to everybody today. This is a request that I had asked KLJ for to, being we don't have one currently, is a survey of our campus grounds here at the courthouse. So what this survey would do would be to show the elevation of every spot that we have. It would show our parking lots, our curbs, where our water lines are, where the electrical lines are, where the sewer is, where the sewer drops are. And then with having that information, it'll, when we do move forward, or depending what happens with the jail project, we would have this information already available. So we have to start speeding up the process with actually going through the rest of the projects, just having the surveys already done and made available to the contractors. They might actually be able to help us narrowing some of our estimates a little bit more too. We're giving them to people so they can see the exact sizing of what we're looking at. So I just wanted to present that to you. I asked KLJ about it a little while back and just, like I said, just received it.
$16,000?
Yes,
Where I didn't see
Second page.
Oh, second page.
surveying is not.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's,
And it's something that it probably is needed. I mean, it's never been done and
I can't believe it's never been done.
there's nothing on our files, so we've seen anything where the elevations or anything. I've looked in the archives, I've looked in everywhere.
You want the new jail or the old jail, is that nothing was there?
Not the whole campus, but.
that'd be 50 years old too.
Right.
You know, so,
Even if our jail doesn't move forward, we should know where everything is.
Right.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
And Karen, I would assume with the jail, I mean, this would come at us at some point if we do proceed forward, we're either paying them or we're, like you said, getting ahead of the game.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, at some point, this will have to be done, if we're moving forward the jail project or any other projects we're looking at doing on the grounds.
Yeah.
So do we want to approve this today?
If you guys approve it, we can move it and get on Dale's schedule so you can get it completed.
I'll make a motion, we approve it, move forward.
I'll second.
Any more questions?
Where are we going to take funds from?
Buildings and grounds capital, all that. I have the funding there, we can take it out of
We
there.
do.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
should we have another bid?
I can see if I can get somebody else to give us
I
one.
don't know.
Honestly, I don't feel it's gonna be much different than this. When you go to KLJ, being local, CPS or Houston, I'm sure could get surveyors here for it, but. Surveyors are tight to get on schedules, and there's nothing getting cheaper than, most of the time when I've had surveying work done, they've all been within $100, honestly. They pretty much know what each other costs and the technology and things they use is pretty streamlined. The difference is beyond how much they charge you for their travel to their site and their.
I know, but I just don't like being tied to one. Yeah, every time, I'm not saying Caleb doesn't do good work but it's just.
Yeah, why don't you bring us another bid next month and then we can go ahead from there.
Yep, I'll reach out to CPS and see if they.
Okay.
Then I guess I'll resend my motion.
Okay,
The next thing I had for you, just some project updates. Right now, the guys are working on replacing 2 culverts in County 15, right just to the left of Helen's greenhouse. They got it dug out yesterday.
Where?
Helen's greenhouse on 15, between Helen's greenhouse
Yeah.
and
So that on the website.
Between Helen's Greenhouse and,
Voss.
so that road's closed.
Yeah, it was closed. Right, yeah. So. You can still get to Helen's from the east, from Midville. You can still get to the Helen's from there.
I think that's scenic road.
Yeah, otherwise you go up a mile north and you get where the 6 and come back down, but.
yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, it's a good road. I took it yesterday. I went and looked at it when they're digging through there.
Yeah, it was a wet well with the spring, the little bit of rains that we did have, so they had the pumps out going across, but they got everything excavated out yesterday and had the pipe laid. But any luck with weather and seeing how things go, I would expect by tomorrow at the latest, we would have our portion of that project in shut.
It was sort of funny yesterday. I drove out there and I don't remember who it was, but I was getting close to the sign and he was going like this and all of a sudden he saw my license plate and he went. Unbelievable how thick that road is. I'll bet you that pavement, and you wonder why a road breaks up? Cause when Ryan was there, he got out and we looked and I'll bet you that pavement cement is that thick at least. It makes you wonder how the road falls apart.
Yeah, that fault on that one is, I never expected to see that much asphalt there.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder why we have so much asphalt there and yet the tonnage has to be so low. And it just points to what's underneath it with the base. If it doesn't have the base, you can't support the loads. So it's.
So those culverts are the new steel with the whatever coating, plastic?
These are poly coated.
Okay.
So they're more, so it's, we put it in 2 sections, it's a 49 foot and a 25 foot, so between the 2 and 75 feet, it's going to be only 1 seam between them, instead of doing multiple seams underneath it. And then we, instead of having both of the joints right next to each other, we flop them. So that if you do have a leak from the one, it shouldn't create a quick issue for the other one. And then they have their tamper and everything else out there, so. Yesterday, when they were waiting for trucks for the dig out, they stockpiled some, and as they're bringing the gravel back today, they'll be back hauling with the material. So that we can speed it up a little bit that way.
I forgot about those culverts when I drove up there. I said, what are we putting poly culverts in here? I thought I wouldn't looked at them, so.
Yeah, they're the steel with the poly coating.
Yeah.
They're supposed to last the same length as the time as concrete without as many seams, so. We'll see. Hopefully, I don't want to put them in again, I know that, get enough colors, we'll do it once and be done. That's the goal. So, we're also have the gravel trucks underway. 2 of them have been pulled for hauling, or the tabs and hauled for pulling out this removal. Gus Thompson is hauling and Clint are hauling, so we're hitting the mud spots right now. So people are worried about it. We're just hitting really bad spots, and we'll be coming back through. The only spot that it's had more of a heavy hit was one we were planning on beforehand. That was County 19. There's a few miles out there that we had to do multiple miles on just to try and bring it back into shape. So we had those going, and yesterday our summer staff started. So the mastic and crack sealing projects are getting underway. They're starting with projects where they can get everybody refamiliarized and learning the equipment.
So they're at Heritage Village in Nami, so they're not in the traffic areas and having to worry about traffic while they're learning the equipment. Then after that, we'll be getting out on the County 19, to take care of those portions and then moving from there back to 15 and working on items there. So that's where they'll all be headed. Once we get done with the culverts, the next plan is to go in and tackle a bridge renovation that we have. We have the steel beams ready for it. You just have to get up there and take the entire deck off, put the new beams down and put it all back together with the new deck boards. Hopefully we can get that raised back up when we're all said and done to acceptable limits where we don't have to worry about trucks not being involved.
Where's that one then?
That one is 1 mile west of 18 and half mile south of number 9. So we're by the old Kurt machine. Where we did repairs, equipment repairs, by Kurt Farms. So we have that one. That's the next one on the list. So then we have multiple others to go to from there. We've looked at a couple more of them, or I haven't looked at 2 bridges that I got calls in yesterday. One of them will be simple, just some blanks. There'll be a couple of others where we've had some ones that the guys have worked on back out and fix those. We can get those taken care of before the old ones came off, so. They've been out, I think we're on project number 20 for the year already with the guys, so. It's nice having a year where we're not in recovery,
Yeah.
where we can get to the real stuff. So, and then the guys are making the most of it, so it's going great.
Good.
Madam Chairman.
Yes,
Can you tell me again, which roads did you say for the asphalt that you're doing?
19 and 15 will be getting the mastic and the crack seal.
19.
Yeah, 19 is the one we just did the new overlay on 2 years ago. And then they did the crack seal on.
Oh,
So it shouldn't take us long to go through that, just to make sure we can keep that in asphalt. It should just be the crack sealer going through, going up the lines, going across it. And it shouldn't take us long to get that one done at all.
and that's by where? That name?
That'd be from basically Forest River Interstate.
Okay.
There's a few of the transverse cracks that have shown up there. The new mill and overlay that we did, number 9 between Edinburgh and 18, that is also showing the transverse cracks showing up through it already. So we'll have to get onto that one as well, just so we don't lose the money that we put into those. But those are the ones that are focused on, is to get those up and.
Why do you think we're seeing cracks so early? I mean, I thought the reason we did those was so we didn't have to do the crack seal too, part of it.
Yeah, it's, I'm not exactly sure why it's transferred through already this year, in 1 year. It's really odd.
That's disappointing.
It is. But it happens, and it kind of goes back to the bases, which is underneath it too. We didn't go down and do, a base work or anything, we just kind of milled off the top and put some new back on, hoping we can do it. It's still a much smoother ride than it used to be. But it is kind of, you really don't like to see the cracks come up the next spring. You prefer it to be a couple of years out.
Well, don't you feel that it's just gonna continue then if it's already started?
It might, next year next year that will be on our list of those do a full chip seal on it. So that'll help it out too. But it's kind of the way it is.
Is what it is.
Yeah. It's almost like a concrete. The only concrete that doesn't crack is the stuff that's not poured.
We used to do a chip seal 3 to 5 years, and now we're doing a lot quicker, aren't we?
Well, typically in the first 2 years after doing you want to do it, and then it's anywhere from a 3 to 7 years form. 5 years is kind of the typical where you want to be on a rotation for the chip seals, 5 to 7 year range. When you don't have a little higher traffic, like we were at Parks and Recreation, when I was there, you could get away with 7 to 10, but we didn't have that luxury.
Is it due to the vibration that this truck set up?
It could be.
If you've ever been underneath a bridge, when a big truck.
Mhm.
Oh,
Sounds terrible.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. The more disheartening project update that I have for you is our new aluminum box culvert that we put in on number 8. There was a hole that had grown up
Where?
on number 8, that's a mile south of number 9. For that new aluminum box culvert that we put in. It's not
affecting the road base itself is structurally sound, but there is a hole that goes 6 feet deep right next to the edge of it. So Wade and myself, are working through that process with the contractor and with the supplier of the contact and to see what type of solutions we can come up with. The way it looks to Wade and I is some of the material actually seeping out through the bottom of that aluminum box cover. So we're gonna find some waders and see if we can get in there. The water's just high enough right now where we can't get a really good look at it and a little bit murkier, so. If the rain holds off, the water levels might drop up enough, but it looks like there's a gravel pile that is built up there in the corner of it. So we have flags around there to show the hole. It's right off to the side and isn't really a concern for the public to be on. We're not closing the road. We have no intention of closing the road at this point in time. So just wanted to let you all be aware of that one too, in case you get a phone call, but.
I hope we can get, to the bottom of it before we have any harvest closing or anything like
Yeah,
that. Because,
our intentions are to have this repaired
yeah,
soon.
yeah.
We don't want anything that.
So are you saying the hole is right in the box culvert itself, or it's in the land adjacent?
Right next to it, so it's got that concrete, if you remember the picture showing it has that concrete bulkhead where the culvert wall is. And then right on that edge, it is dropped down, so it sticks out about 2 feet from the edge of that piece, and still dirt portion of the shoulder, it's not natural gravel base of the road. And then it goes down 6 feet, and then the base bottom of it's about 3 foot, so it's only like. Well, it's 40 cubic feet hole, so. So I just want to make sure that before we put gravel and backfill, we're not gonna constantly have this issue, so we're trying to see if we need to excavate portions of it out, to put something in there underneath to stop that.
Amy,
Is the contractor involved? I mean, is there any liability? Okay, so
So the contractor's involved in the project,
Okay.
and what we're discussing, so they're working. Yep. Fun, trying
They're telling me.
okay, any questions for Jason? And any of the,
So we have some better answers both by this morning, so. So that's that. The only other thing I wanted to address today is, right of way. Just wanted to make sure we clear some things up that were in the paper. Our intentions for enforcing the right of ways are not to sign every month. Our intentions are to work with the landowners and be able to come up to agreements with them to make sure that we have a working relationship, we're working together, and it's not something that's gonna be a fight to go through. We'll work with them, we're not intending to sign it. If we have somebody that blatantly keeps affecting it, we may have to look at doing a sign. But that is not our intentions to sign these right now. And the right of ways will be enforced off of what is in the plat book or in the deeds. So everything with the easements that are filed from there, that's what we'll be enforcing. It won't be some arbitrary number picked out of the air that we just decide we want this much. It'll go back to the original deeds or the paperwork that's filed, so we can have that. While some people are filing what taxes, saying that, showing that their tax bill says they still pay the taxes. The land still shows up there because they actually own it. But from talking to James Ed, that land that's in that right of way has been reduced and is not part of the actual tax bill. So I just want to get that clarification out there and make sure that everybody is aware of it and try and calm the storm a little bit on it.
That was sort of done through the soils, when they did the modifiers and everything else. I remember when we were on that committee and stuff there, whether it's 33 or 50 feet, so. And I got calls on that too, but it is misleading because they look at their tax statement and it says 160, but they're not paying taxes on 160. So,
Would it be easier just to adopt a 33-foot on everything except for the paved roads?
we're sort of thinking of that, I mean, we're still looking into this. And like I said, to me, as long as we're the same everywhere and 33 feet is what well, I don't know if you want to call it legal or right away or whatever, at least everything's the same, it'll be easier for him.
Yeah.
And like I said, the signs, when he brings it up, if we're gonna work with the farmer, most of them have GPS, drive down the middle of the highway, come into the sort of the road, go your 33 feet, mark it, you've got it. So simple, that's why we don't need flags and everything else, and some might not be willing to work with us, but it's an easy fix to do it instead of signs. And that's why we're sort of trying to work with everybody. I mean, we've had a couple phone calls, I think all of you have. And it's just a starting issue, but yeah, we wanna make this as simple as we can and make sure we're on the right trail, so everybody's the same and,
Yeah.
you know, are we legal at 33 or is this 160 because of some agreement or, yeah, there's a lot of it. I didn't go, all the years I've been here, I said, when we opened this thing up, I couldn't believe all the different ideas of it too.
We've been dealing with this ever since I left.
Yeah, it's,
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
I guess my issue is yes, it's 33 feet. If we go beyond that, we have to make sure that there's proper documentation that has been recorded.
Yeah.
If we don't have that, we can't take more than the 33 feet.
correct.
And I want to be able to work with the farmers on that, not against them.
Yeah. Cause there's some paperwork there that was written, but nothing's dated, nothing's signed. You know,
Amy,
I thought my understanding from hearing this was that 33 feet is in century code. Do we not have?
33 feet is the century code based, everything falls back to townships, everything is 33 feet. Construction easements allow you to go up, work further because of depending on the elevation that you build the road. So that you could go up further, so you could build up the road height and get the materials that you needed for that part. From talking with North Dakota DOT, if the feds were to come back and do an audit, it goes off of the stuff that's in the reported deed. So if you're enforcing it right away at 50 feet, but the reported deed is only at 33, they only care about that 33 feet, not the 50. So that's what we need to make sure that we're doing is going off of the reported deeds and verifying it and going through there. The next question is, was it an easement for construction or a permanent easement? So I got an email to Kelly, I'll be talking to her about it, getting some more information into it. Like I said last time, it'll be a long process, but we're gonna make sure I want, like you said, Debbie, this has been going on a long time. I wanna make sure we can come up to make sure everything is right and be done with this and put it to bed, so no one has to worry about it later on.
so stay tuned.
It'll be a process.
It is, it's not an easy thing to take care of and people have to be patient. We're only trying to do what's right and is fair for people, so. That's all we can do. Anything more for Jason? Okay,
you going down?
Yeah.
thanks.
We will watch our meeting.
I talk, I'm having.
Yes, Ernie, you can be next.
Quick one, I talked to a couple county commissioners, both chairmans of Nelson and Ramsey County, and I talked to them for a different reason. But when I talked to them, I brought up about Northeast 9. Some of you aren't probably ever been to a meeting, or it was before COVID, Karen has, and we're talking about bringing that back. We used to have monthly meetings, and they've got issues with some water in there, some township stuff. I thought about funding in jails, we used to talk about funding for roads. It's what it is, it's Northeast 9, it's 9 counties, and we get together, there'd be well, let's say Kelly, KLJ, or somebody to do a supper meeting. You'd go for 5 o'clock, you'd have a small barbecue or something, and then you'd have a meeting afterwards. It was a good deal, and I sort of miss it, so. During the years of flooding in Devil's Lake, when Belford, when them guys were there, I mean, there was some good topics that we brought up, and they also have people representing and bringing new stuff like GPS this, or you talk shop, or you talk this. So it's just, I think it's a good learning tool, and where everybody gets together and you sort of brain thoughts. So I'm here, I hope left it up to Jeff, because he was chairman the last time we had one. First, yes. So I hope with his encouragement, he thought it was, and so did just Cody Johnson from Nelson County. So I told him to keep in touch with me, and I hope we get it started again.
Yeah, it was a good, I'm not sure what happened, why we,
I think COVID sort of shut it down, Karen. That's what they were saying.
I never heard of it before.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. And
you been to any meetings?
because you and I have probably been the only one.
But you went to a couple in Devil's Lake. Well, I mean,
And it doesn't-
I mean,
They recorded.
then it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Yes, how long have you been?
6.
Well, it hasn't been 6 years since we had a meeting.
I-
You just didn't get a chance to go.
I don't know. I don't know. It's been a long time since we had one.
Yeah,
So
but anyway,
Yeah.
it is good to have it brought
Yeah.
back.
I don't know if it was quarterly, 3 months. If there's something on the issue, they just call a meeting and we have one in a month and send you
We
the
have one at
agenda.
least 3 times a year.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
So,
So,
and all of us can go because it's a
yeah.
meeting, so.
We did that with FSA. And it was the most valuable meetings I
Yeah,
attended, because you could share notes with other counties, what's working good for you, what's not.
Yeah.
Yep,
Cody didn't know much about it because he knew, but Jeff remembered it, so, yeah, I encouraged it and I hope.
yeah,
he did it,
Ernie
so.
and I have been to many of those meetings.
Yep,
You'll
then you
keep us
travel.
posted if they get
Yeah,
What's that?
You'll keep us posted.
Yeah.
I hope they keep them to a Wednesday. Wednesday seemed like a good day, but
Yeah.
it's hard to.
I think it works
everybody.
Wednesdays because of everything else. Wednesday was a good day, so
Yep,
I'll keep in touch with everybody. I'm gonna go down to the water.
okay, Ernie's leaving the meeting, so make sure that we note that. Okay, then we'll just go to unfinished and other business. We'll start with planning and zoning reappointment and maybe we can just get a little update on what happened at your meeting.
Well, we, forget what day it was we met, but we're all doing our homework. It's a slow process changing it. It's a legal process, what it comes down to. But, yeah, we all recognize the needs for change. The gravel pits are probably the biggest concern right now, changing some of that zoning. So we're meeting again. Whatever, I guess, there was no meeting date set. But,
So we'll get questions about Vesleyville, what, if it's just still waiting on some opinions?
yeah, well,
Okay.
that legal case is coming up,
Oh, yes, yeah,
so we weren't gonna do anything on that
okay,
till then, so
okay.
they're dealing with it, but it's.
Sounds
And,
good.
Kit Midgarden is up for a 4-year term. And Alan Zeid said he would like to get on the zoning board also, so
Okay, well, I'll ask for a motion then to.
I'll make a motion that we appoint
Okay.
those two for those positions.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions about planning and zoning? Hearing none, I'll call for the roll. Christie?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Amy? Yes. Myself, yes, motion carried. Okay, then, let's see. Is this one? I'll turn it over to Christie now for.
Sure. Okay, so we opened up that new treasurer's checking account where it's just the account. It's an in and out account. It's not county money. But in visiting with other auditors, it is best to have its own fund so that it has its own cash account within the general ledger. It's not tied to any of our reporting in that. So I'm just asking if I can have a motion to create a new fund within the general ledger for the treasurers.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay,
And she is gonna start using them, so that'll really help with the reporting of the bills, more accurate.
great.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the roll. Danny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Christie?
Yeah.
Myself, yes. Okay, next is the treasurer deputy 2 position. I'll have Christina.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we did hire. We have, her name is Nasa Oliver, and she will be starting next Thursday, or next Tuesday, the 20, Nasa.
Nasa.
Yeah, Oliver, she lives in Vesleyville. She's not from around here, but she's been here a few years.
I don't remember how long exactly she said, but a while.
Yeah, very, I mean, really looking
Yeah,
forward.
we'll meet her the next meeting.
Yeah, she has payroll experience, so that's gonna be fantastic. She'll be a very valuable resource.
She was impressive,
Yeah,
very impressive.
yeah.
So are you full? Is your?
We will be full as of, yes, knock on wood, yes. No, very exciting. I'm really excited to get her in here and, yeah, she's, I think, gonna be a fantastic fit.
Great,
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, Tanya's here now, so I think we'll go into few other. Additions. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Good morning.
Morning, Donna.
So what we have left for you is the volunteer policy, sick leave. We did talk about the logo.
Perfect. So let's talk about the policies quickly.
So I had, a department head approach me a couple weeks ago, wondering if we have a policy related to employees who serve on volunteer squads, fire departments, EMS, things like that. So we talked about it at the department head meeting. We do not have a policy right now. And in the context of our conversation, it was determined we do need something because it's happening, like we have people who are involved with it. So I had polled a couple other departments, or excuse me, other counties, looking for some ideas. The one that I think Christie printed out for you, right? Just very, very simple and straightforward. Basically saying, you know, we do encourage it, we support it, but it can't disrupt our operations either. I was thinking about it driving in, and wondering if we need to clarify if any time is paid while they're gone. You know what I mean? That doesn't, I can see that question coming. Like, is this, do I have to take vacation leave? Or how is this covered? Because that was the original question I got from the department head. We do, you may recall, we did put a policy into place recently about, for donating blood. You know, like we allow them to donate blood and they get like up to an hour of leave for that. That we aren't, you know, we're allowing them to go. We just kept it really simple that, you know, it has to, business needs to take priority. Department head approval is required every time you get the call. And then we're gonna track it closely. We do say if time becomes excessive or unreasonable, they're required to use paid leave. But I get a little bit, the more I think about it, what if we, I think we need to clarify then that workers' comp doesn't, you don't get workers' comp coverage when you're called out. Even if we do allow a little bit of paid time to support those volunteer organizations. I don't know, I was driving in thinking about the policy more, thinking, I think we need a little bit more meat to this policy. And this is what the department heads wanted, is just keep it really simple, and I'm on board with that, as simple as possible, but I don't want to have additional questions either.
Any comments, Amy?
I think it's harder and harder to get people to volunteer for these things, so I really don't wanna see us putting that on them to say you're not paid. I mean, it would just maybe discourage, so.
Yeah.
I guess I like on there when it says if it becomes an issue, you know, if time becomes excessive, then it can be addressed that way, but. I'd rather see it that way, I guess,
Leaving it
myself.
open-ended for some discretion.
For department heads, I mean.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like things are, and people that are volunteering, they're just giving up their time and we
Yeah.
need that so badly around here, so.
Yep.
Trammell? Yes. I agree with what you're saying, except I think it makes it hard on the department heads if we don't have, a parameter set. You know, because it's really hard as a department head to say, oh, yeah, you've been out 5 days in the last 2 months. You know, they need,
What's
it
reasonable?
helps the department heads as to what is reasonable. I'd like to see a parameter set, because then after that, you know, they're allowed to volunteer up to so much time. I think we need volunteers as well, and I think it's great to have a policy in place. However, there is a limit, because we have to make sure that our job gets done as well here at the county. So I feel it'd be easier on the department heads if there was a parameter set.
Something.
You know, like say 40 hours or
A year.
a year.
Okay.
Right, so that'd be a week, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing that was discussed, one of the things, like, okay, they need to, when they're volunteers, we have volunteer firefighters, thank God for them.
Absolutely.
But do you have to go out on every grass fire? You know, do you pick and choose? If you know I have that 40 hours, am I gonna go out when I really need to go out, or am I gonna go out because I want to go out? Because they feel that need, you know, they feel that need to make every call, but we might have to pick and choose because we also have a job to do here.
Well, and I think allowing them, even if we do put a parameter in place, still encouraging them if they exceed that ever.
Right.
But then their leave time would apply, or they can, if the opportunity is there in the department to flex that time. You know, maybe they can add and, you know, pick up an hour later in the week or something, I don't know, but. Yeah, I just was thinking about it deeper, and I definitely, no matter what, I think we have to add a line that workers' comp coverage does not apply. Because that is just isn't a mess that we want to get into, so I already made a note for that, so. I will add that regardless of what you decide, but.
So if you did 40 hours a week, would,
Or a year.
or exceeding 40 hours a week would be it would open the potential for review, or, you know, I mean, it would be something we would have
Oh,
to
you
look
mean-
at.
Are you saying if they exceeded that 40 hours
Well,
in a year?
That would flag it a little bit in a sense, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want people to not do it because they feel like it's more than that, but I also agree that if it makes it easier for the heads to be able to kind of track if they're seeing that's gonna be an issue.
Right, just have a benchmark to like, what do we consider unreasonable?
Benchmark.
Do we start with the 40 hours a year and see how it goes from there? I wish Jason was still here because it was in his department, to
He's
see
the one where.
how much they were actually using. You know, are you on an ambulance? What are you volunteering for? It can
Right.
makes a difference too,
It
but
does,
I'd like to see us start with 40 hours
okay,
a year. That's just my opinion, just because we give some parameters to the department heads in and we can review it.
absolutely, yeah,
Again.
yep. So maybe that number 3, I could just say, time spent is tracked closely. If time exceeds 40 hours in a year, it will be subject to review or something like that? Or do you want to say that leave time is required after the 40?
I think leave time is required after the 40, and then as a commission, if a department head comes to us and says, hey, 40 isn't enough, we could review it again. I think putting it as subject to review, that puts a lot on our department heads too, because it's really hard as a department head. I know from past experience as a manager, it's really hard to look at somebody and say, no, you can't go out on that call, even though the commission gave me authority to, it's up to me.
Yes, Teddy,
I could see the use,
yes.
not, I mean, for the most part, they won't, but there's always some that will. I don't know how you control that outside of the department heads making that call.
I think that's where in some respects, the department heads do have to exercise their authority because
Yes.
they have to approve each one. If it's a little grass fire and it's 40 minutes away from where you're working, I'm thinking about the highway department, not to pick on them, but that's how this came up, you know. I think that, you know, department heads and those who are at the work site in charge have to have a judgment call there and say, no, it's gonna really put us in a bind if you leave right now. If it's a house fire, you know, somebody's house is going down, obviously those are a lot more urgent. And I guess we probably would encourage them to go to those things, but
I would encourage the department heads to go through this policy with their workers and state, this is what it is. Let's just put it up front. Let's not abuse it because it could be taken away too. We want to encourage our
Yes.
employees for volunteer work because we're getting less and less people who will
Yeah.
volunteer for anything. And, you know, we don't want to abuse it, but yet we want to be able to let them go too. I think we're doing a big thing by letting them go for, you know, getting paid.
Okay,
Anything more?
so what I have right now to review is the very last end, I just changed it to if time exceeds 40 hours, the employee will be required to use paid leave. I will share with the department heads that if they don't feel this meets our needs, then we can kind of bring it back to the table, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll add the workers' comp coverage does not apply when you leave the premises and are on call.
Sir, are we okay to make a motion to
Right, is it,
go through it?
would you consider this your first reading then?
40 hours annually.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
a year. Yep. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this volunteer work policy? So moved. Any more questions?
So how many employees do we have times 40 hours times?
It was my understanding at the department head meeting that we don't have that many that request time to go and do volunteer duties.
Yeah.
And I think. I mean, we put in there such as fire department EMS, you know, I think that's where the policy, the request originated with those emergency response type roles, volunteer roles. And there aren't very many. I think only maybe one other department said that they have somebody.
And there's certain positions obviously where it's not even an option, you know, like jailers and dispatchers, more than likely they're not gonna be able to respond. They're one of two or the only one on duty, and so,
Mhm.
Do we wanna clarify volunteers?
I think what he wants, it is, it's, well, it says such a fire
it's not
department.
limited to that.
I agree that we should
Clarify that.
We should clarify that.
You
So,
mean which volunteers?
Which organization?
emergency
Right.
response organizations.
Emergency response, yeah, yes, good catch.
Okay. I'll just add that term, emergency response, local emergency response organizations.
Is that okay with your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It's okay with who made the motion? Are there any more questions or additions, comments?
I guess the only comment I would make is, just because we're saying up to 40 hours, that still doesn't mean that a department head has to approve every request.
Yeah.
Again, it's
Yeah.
at their discretion.
Yes.
Those still, bullet points 1 and 2 are, still have to be fulfilled first, yeah,
Right.
so.
Excuse me. Okay, I'll take the roll. Christie?
Yes.
Denny?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries.
Okay, so that's our first reading, I'll bring that back to you then in a month-ish. So the other policy issue that came up recently at the department head, not the most recent department head meeting, I should have brought it up, the most recent department head meeting. Excuse me, is, this has been brought up in the past, but there have been requests to look into the possibility of paying out sick leave when an employee leaves our, employment. There have been issues in some departments where department heads have had a difficult time controlling abuse of that, particularly, when they're leaving, like, oh, they put in their notice and, oh, somebody's using a lot of sick leave all of a sudden. And so, and just general abuse of sick leave overall, to be honest, people earn it, use it the same month, So there have been multiple discussions at the department head level. I did do some research. The North Dakota Association of Counties has great survey tools, where they survey about the salaries, but a lot of other things too. And according to their survey tools, 28 counties actually offer some form of sick leave payout. I did a really simple little spreadsheet for you guys, so I'll set it out. It's, when it's in front on, hopefully I still have an extra one, but without turning it maybe. I sent in all, like a group email to everybody and I didn't, get 28 responses, but I gave you a sampling of what I did receive. It's kind of, it runs the gamut between, 10% up to as much as 50%. 50% is Williams County, and that's people who are grandfathered in if they were hired before March of 1994. They have changed their policy twice because it started out at 50, and then in 94, they bumped it to 25. And then in 2000, they went down to 10%. 10% or 25%, as you can see, seem to be the most common, but there's stipulations a lot of times with that. Either they have to be here for 10 years, they max it out of, a cap it at maybe 200, like Barnes County is 25%, but a max of 200. So the notes at the bottom kind of show the stipulations that go along with it. This is kind of just, food for thought for you as a commission as to whether we want to pursue this any further. The state policy is 10% after 10 years of service. So any North Dakota state employee does receive a payout of 10% after 10 years. Another thing that I thought about that I didn't discuss this with the department heads, but I do believe I've seen policies that kind of specify and address the issue of using sick leave after the notice has been put in, that maybe sick leave is not eligible, it's not available to you after you've put in your notice unless it was pre-scheduled, if you have a pre-scheduled doctor's appointment or, that was on the calendar already. That's another thing that I believe I've seen in other organizations to help curb the abuse at the end, but it overall, there
Give us
are
an example of that, because that was a lot and
it was a lot. So say, I put in my notice, and so I put it in today and I gave a 2-week notice. I am not allowed to use sick leave now in the next 2 weeks unless I had already had it on the calendar. So if I had a doctor's appointment scheduled for Friday and I notified my supervisor of that, a month ago, I can still take that sick leave, but other than that, it's no longer available for use.
I think that should be at least one policy or one stipulation.
And I, like I said, I didn't discuss that. I don't think I talked about that at the department head meeting when we talked about it before, but that's another way to help.
I think they would all agree to that.
Mhm. But I was surprised.
And
to
of
be
course,
honest.
there would be exceptions, wouldn't there? Or-
Well, I think you open the door to exceptions and
Yeah.
you get a little bit murky waters.
Yeah,
I
never
mean,
mind.
If they have put it on the calendar, so I already had a doctor's appointment, I've had that for a month, and I already, then it's still there for use.
Yep,
But I think overall, I was surprised, to be honest, that there were this many counties that offered this. I didn't realize it was as common as it is. I might have only received the responses that I received because I pulled the HR group. And, there's an HR, email group across the state, and not all counties have an HR person. So if we sent it through the auditor group, we might get additional responses too. So the auditors are usually, a lot of times those questions get bounced back and forth between the two listservs, the email listservs, but, I just thought I'd give it to you for consideration.
maybe.
So first question, the state policy, can they carry over so many hours a year? Is that
I
also
believe it's the same as, I think it's 240.
per year?
Yeah.
Sick leave?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
really?
cap it at, don't quote me on it. They do allow carryover of a max of, I think it's 200 or 240.
Per year?
Maybe 240 per year, yeah.
Wow.
For sick leave, they cap it?
Chris, I mean.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm
No.
sorry. You're right. I'm just thinking about vacation. I'm sorry.
Oh, so there's no
No
cap?
cap on sick leave.
Yep. No, I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, that's how you save up for surgeries or cancer or
Well, and-
babies.
Yep,
Babies.
and then they also, what they do is, if you are a PERS organization, there is something with sick leave credit conversion. So when you go to retire, if you have a whole bunch of sick leave on the books, you can convert that into retirement credits. Yeah.
Because didn't we have this, right when I came on, when Chris was retiring, wasn't that part of that too? Just there was so many hours built, so many sick leave hours built up, so we haven't had anything.
Mm-mm.
So, but this is encouraging people to really hang on to it, is really why
Yes.
they're doing it.
Yeah, that's.
Which I'm in favor of.
Yeah, and not use it, earn it, use it, earn it, use it, earn it, use it. And I mean, I've had several department heads that say to me like, this, how do you curb it? And I mean, we have policies in place. We beefed up our sick leave policy where we allow them to ask for a note, before that 3-day window is up, if they do think there's some abuse going on. But it's a difficult issue to get to control, honestly, because there's only so much you can do to, are you really sick? To verify it, so.
I mean, I guess I just feel like too, from an adult perspective and professional perspective, there's only so much micromanagement, but I'm all for encouraging good behavior and rewarding those who are doing, the piece of hanging on to it for valid reasons and rewarded because of that in the end.
Yeah. So, you wanna just come up with something for us? In this sick leave for the counties here, is there something that you can come up with?
Yep, I mean, I just gave you a sampling of what's out there, and I can bring this back to the department head group and see if there's thoughts on what they would prefer. Like I said, the 10 and the 25 seem to be the most common. The one county you'll see, how they do it is it's Ramsey County, they convert it essentially at the end of that person's, when they're gonna leave, they take 1/6 of the sick leave and basically convert it to vacation, so they're getting a 1/6 payout of their sick is what it means, because you're required, of course, to pay out vacation, so, there's a number of different ways you could do it, but 10% and 25% are the most common, but I can bring this back to the department head group and get some feedback as to what they would like to.
You would just email them and get some feedback, right?
Yeah, because we don't meet quarterly, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Christine, Madam Chairman, so I just wanna make sure I'm understanding this then. The one where it says 1/6 for Ramsey, they're converting it to vacation. But the other ones where you say a percentage, they're paying it out, they're paying out the sick leave.
Correct, they're paying out that 10% of the sick leave balance. They're putting monetary value to that and they're paying it at their current hourly rate. It's essentially the
It's
same.
the same thing, that's what
Same thing. I don't know why Ramsey,
understand that.
that's how Ramsey has it written in their policy, and I'm not sure what the advantage to that would be, in all honesty. I do think, if I recall correctly, Ramsey, I believe, is the county that also has a conversion policy available for use before they leave even. You know, so if somebody builds up their sick leave balance to X amount, I don't remember what the, 250 or 300 or something, they allow them to take a percentage of it or an amount of it and convert it to vacation for use while they're still there. So that might be why their policy is written that way.
Okay, I guess I'm not really in favor of doing something like that. I think we just look at either we're gonna pay out a portion of the sick leave or we're going to convert it to retirement days. Now, which one would be more cost effective is what I'm wondering.
I think that's kind of a, you mean for the county to choose to
Right.
do that? I don't know if I think you leave that conversion piece of it to the employee. I think if they choose to not pay, cash in any of their sick and they want to use all of that to buy their retirement credits, then they could choose to do that.
So we give them an option.
Yeah, I mean, they can still say, I don't want to get paid out for that, and they can choose to do that if they want, but
Okay,
the benefit would be there. I think seeing the policy, like you said, Amy, encourages more of a positive behavior in terms of holding on to your leave and not using it. That's a good thing.
and the other thing, I guess, I don't care for the max of $200. That's not to me,
Sure, yeah.
either we're gonna do it on your sick leave or we're not, but $200 is not much on the book for sick leave. I mean, when you got $1,000, that's a lot on the books,
Yep.
but.
Yep.
So I guess I don't like putting a maximum on there, putting a limit on there.
Okay. Do you have any feedback as to whether we would require a minimum time worked? And I'll ask the department head group this question as well, but how do you feel about that piece of it?
On minimum time, what?
So some of these policies, you have to work for a minimum of 5
Oh.
years or 10 years before you're eligible to do that. Not all of them, I think there's one. Turns 3 of them total.
Chrissy, would like to.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm out of line, but I wonder if that max at 200 is for budgeting purposes, so that they will only pay out up to 200 hours.
Oh, it's not.
So that if they have 3,000 hours.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And 25% of
That's what
it, I
that
bet
is.
you it is for budgeting, because we had that where I was before that. It was a budget breaker all the time, so
Okay.
that's a max payout.
That's
That's,
a max
that's
payout.
different. I'm not
Yeah.
okay with. I thought you meant like they were only you could only we would only pay 10% of the $200 is how I
no.
took this.
Yeah, no, I didn't explain that. I did not,
Okay,
I understood it, how Chrissy's describing it. So
okay,
like,
that's
if
different.
you have, 1,000 hours on the books, but, so you would, and you 25%, you would normally get 250, but they cap it at 200.
Okay, that I would be okay with.
Okay,
Yeah, I misunderstood that.
yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your point, so.
Amy?
I would be curious from the department heads on, not that it's gonna be easy to, of where they've seen the abuse over the years or how it goes, but I guess I just look at different life stages of different employees, and I hate to put that if we have a younger mom or someone that is working here, because, I've even learned that in my working years, is that I had a lot more difficult with kids that were little than I do now, and so I guess that part of me feels punitive to a degree too, that we're basically telling them, you're gonna have to figure it out for 5 years, and that could be a really hard season of life for them. So
Sure.
I'm all for like making sure it's trying to get it as safe as we can, but I also hate to see too much on there.
Sure.
Well, this goes through the department heads too, correct? I mean,
Right.
they're monitoring it, should be monitoring, so, yes, Christine?
Just the one thing I had, I think in some of the areas where we feel that maybe employees are using their sick leave as fast as they're using it. I think if we say, oh, we're not gonna pay out until after 10 years, those are probably not the employees that are going to spend 10 years with us.
I 100% agree.
So I don't like the idea of saying we're gonna only do this after 10 years or 5 years. I'd almost like to see it, I'd like to get input from the department heads,
Yeah,
but I'd almost like to see it immediate, because if part of the reason we're doing it, part of it's because we wanna be good to our employees, we wanna treat them fair. The other part is we're trying to curb abuse, and
those employees that are more likely to abuse are perhaps ones that aren't spending a long time with us. I agree completely, so.
right.
Any more questions? the comments. So then we'll have you bring this to our next meeting,
Yep.
possibly.
I'll get some feedback from department heads and I will bring up a proposed policy to you. Okay. So the last thing I just wanted to discuss quickly is where budget season is approaching fast and furious. And so I did take a look at the CPI index. That's what we use for our COLA increases. It was sitting at 2.7 in January and it's been sitting at 2.8 ever since. It's not moving. It's pretty stable. If you want any sort of preliminary figures from me, so looking at the big picture, before you get too far into the budget process, you just need to let me know. I know Christie's looking at, later in June perhaps for when you're gonna be starting those meetings, so, last year we did a 2, right, maybe 2%?
And the CPI last year was much higher.
It was,
It was
yeah.
much higher, but we went to 2%.
It's been just crazy because we were still sort of trying to settle from COVID, right? I mean, it was like 8 or something the one year because of, it was just out of control, so. So I don't know if you have any
I
thoughts?
I would like to see dollar figures
Yeah.
as to what, say, a 1% or a 1.5% or a 2%.
Mhm. Okay,
I'd like to see the actual dollar figures, because if you guys remember last year, we did a 2%. And the only thing that covered that was our mill levy increase, correct?
Yep, took all of it.
Took all of it.
mhm.
So we have to be careful before we say what we're going to approve.
Just to know, yeah, where you're gonna land. That's one of the reasons I thought it'd be helpful now, so that
Yeah.
perhaps I could get it back to you for that first June meeting and then it doesn't delay things.
Right. And we won't know what a mill levy will be till what?
And
Right after elections, you're gonna be working on that?
well, that's Ed, and I believe he comes first meeting in June. So that's Ed's part. Yes, yeah, so I started beginning of June last year and we did not have it right away, so, but it did come from him, so.
And this is what I was talking about, where the department has requested that we get this to them sooner rather than later, so that when they're doing their
I'd like to need to
budgeting.
know.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I can figure 1, 1.5, and a 2, and I'll have those numbers for you then in June, so.
Will we also have numbers on if we do a step increase? Because we also have to decide if we're going to approve a step increase or not.
Yep, I would include that as well.
Do we approve that every year, a step increase? It's
Yeah.
not an automatic?
You do, it's there, I believe, I don't know who, if there's anyone still around that would remember that, but I believe there's been a year or two, many years in the past, where we did not do it, when budgets were that tight. We've been,
Was it done after then we did the marketing thing and said, this is what it is?
yeah, we've just stayed more on top of it now, and we've kept
Okay.
up with market, the market rates, things like that. So it's been a lot of years since we did not do a step.
Okay. Because we want to stay within market
Correct.
or we're
Yep,
gonna,
we
we're gonna be
operate
in
at
big
market.
trouble again.
Yep, we maintain a market-based pay
Yep.
plan, and I think it's important for us to remember that, because I know, I have received, just in the interest of transparency, I've received 2 requests from 2 department heads to take a closer look at a couple of salaries in their departments, and that's fine. But some of the language used in some of those requests is, well, this person does a great job, and they do this, 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 and this, and it's things that are on that person's job description, and so I would love to be able to say, yeah, I agree, that person deserves a raise, but that isn't how we operate our pay plan. And so, if we were basing our raises on that, everybody would probably be eligible, right? Most, anyway, so I think we have to kind of remind, I guess, our department head sometimes.
Yeah.
The type of pay plan that we maintain, and so if there's an issue with the market, then that's when we need to make adjustments, and that's how we've always done it, so.
I think we always need to remember that we do not have a performance-based pay plan. We
I
have
wish
a
we could, right?
market-based pay plan.
Yeah, we have a market base. I've always said, I would love it if we could, but I have not seen a performance-based pay plan successfully implemented in any county, we need to break. I would love it if we could do that, but it's just.
It's a pretty hard plan to.
Yeah, it just doesn't work very well, and especially, I think the smaller we are, the harder it is, and so I wish we could, but it doesn't work that way, so. So I'll, yeah, just so you, I have received numbers. I've not even been able to work to even discuss them at all with either one of those department heads, but,
Well, if you could get some COLA numbers to us, you could just email that to us too.
I could, yeah.
Before we could put it on the agenda, but get it to us before
Yep,
so we
absolutely.
can look at it.
COLA
Yes.
and the staff.
COLA and step, yep, absolutely. I will do that. I'll get those numbers calculated for you. It's a matter of,
And I think that we have talked about, is that all with?
yep, that's all I have, I know, yep.
Okay, we did talk a little bit through email about, budget meetings. So what did we decide now?
So the first one will be June 25th.
Okay.
And then the second one is going to be, July 8th. And then, we'll have the the Tuesday, July 9th that morning, if absolutely necessary.
So we'll plan 8:30 to 5 for the first two if needed, I mean, they're full days.
Yep, full days. Yep, full days for those two.
June 25th, you said?
Yep,
Sorry.
June 25th, yes.
Those are
Yes.
long days.
There's the auditor treasurer conference on the 9th in Fargo, so I was hoping to be able to be there for the first.
And should we set that at 8:30 or 9?
We said 8:30.
Okay, 8:30.
What we talked first about.
Okay, 8:30?
And then, there's one, on the 16th, ADA and Red River Regional Council, they couldn't make those meetings.
July 16th?
But that's after our meeting,
After our
right?
commissioner meeting.
Yes, after the
Oh.
commissioner meeting, yes.
And that
Yeah.
shouldn't take too long.
No, but actually I could go back to them and see if the 25th would work for them, because that was not originally scheduled, so I will
Okay.
double check with them first.
Well, we'll meet in the morning, we'll break for lunch, and we'll meet in the afternoon then. I mean, this way we get it out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
Get her done.
Not that I'm saying, oh, we gotta get it out of the way, but it just,
No, I know.
we're coming back and forth. And
Yeah.
I like having a full schedule.
Who brings the Tylenol?
Our brains are.
And then July
Not
8th,
so bad.
and then July 8th.
Yeah, you're.
Right.
You said July 8th, and then what's?
The 9th that morning, because we had originally
July 9th.
scheduled 2.5 days.
Okay,
So we'll still have 2.5 days, we'll just do, the Tuesday before 4th of July break, and then, the Monday after, so I will start scheduling those in the next few days. I did get, on Friday, I visited with, Tyler Support and got some reports that are gonna be really good, to run for the department heads. I'm gonna have Emily work on getting them, so you can actually, make them customized for each department. So it'll be a lot easier for them that way, instead of giving everybody the same report. So I was hoping to get it done over the weekend, but it didn't happen. So I'm hoping by the end of the week, we will have that out to them. So
Pretty much all up to speed on Tyler,
for,
everything?
no,
No.
we're still doing I spent 13 hours on Saturday trying to work through the county general. I'm at a standstill on that, on how to proceed there's a lot of outstanding transactions within the general ledger that aren't on the bank statement. And then there's also a bunch of, transactions on the bank statement that aren't in the general ledger. So I have to try to figure out what the best way for auditing purposes, how to show our work, because I know that the ones in the general ledger, I know that I should just be able to credit cash back for that because they did not happen. I know they didn't happen, but I just need to find out, I'm getting the opinion from a couple other auditors on how to make sure to handle that. And then as far as the transactions that did happen, I think we will then just create those in the system. So it's getting closer, but, there's still some hangups. It's just the deposits, the way the deposits were going in, you have no idea, like there could be 15 deposits in the general ledger that all those add up to one deposit in the bank statement. And when you're looking at 6 months worth of transactions, you have no idea what transactions went with what. So that has taken the most time. We've actually taken each deposit and gone check by check and gone through all of the deposits. So I'm extremely confident with what we've gotten done so far. It's just now the hang up, the cleanup piece where, I even had Emily yesterday looking, trying to see if she can piece any together, and she couldn't, reconcile any of the other ones too, so. And then the same with the tax payments, those always have been coming in a different way. So we almost have to add up all of the deposits that were tax payment, receipted for tax payments, which are not receipted different. Add all those up and make sure that balances to the interface for each month. You're talking tons of money, so, but it's getting closer. I was extremely, happy with all the progress I made Saturday. I was happy, so. Good.
15 hours on Saturday.
Good.
Yeah, well, I didn't work Sunday though, didn't I? Thought of you. I was going to, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to work on Sunday,
Good.
so I didn't. So,
So Tyler Software, I mean, they got all the problems worked out on their end of it,
yeah, yes,
pretty much?
yes, I think it was definitely, yes.
You're talking about on how to use it and everything, correct?
Yes,
That's what.
going forward, I think we are in a good place.
And they're supporting everything?
Yeah,
You get-
yeah, I've been extremely happy with all of, they're very good to work with. We did have some issues with on tax wise, the tax piece of it that we're working through. There's a bug in the system that we weren't aware of, so it messed with a bunch of parcels, and so there's a bunch.
Isn't it? I mean,
We're just coming up on the
1 year.
We rolled out on July 1 of last year.
Yeah.
It feels.
It feels like. I agree. So, but yeah, no, things are, I mean, I think that once we get that cleaned up, I really feel there's gonna be so many efficiencies with the system that, I'm looking forward to it. And Linda and I were working through an issue yesterday too, and that I told her that's how we learn is when we come up, we know enough to see that we should question something,
Yeah.
that's progress. So, yeah, I'm happy with what the future holds. I can't wait to get past it, but yes, I'm hoping, soon. I mean, if I can just figure out how, I just don't know how when the auditors are sitting in front of me, how I can explain to them without knowing, having proof.
Into it.
Yes, so that's where, I mean, I have the bank statements, obviously, I have that side of it, and I have the bills that were paid. So it's just really the payroll piece of it that is the issues. But
So when you say soon, Christie, what are you kind of thinking?
I was hoping, I mean, if I work a little this weekend, I mean, if I bet, I mean, I would love to say another 12, 15 hours.
Great.
Probably.
Okay.
That sounds that sounds
I'm
good, and
hoping,
it
yeah,
sounds like the
yeah,
light at the end of
yeah,
the tunnel.
yeah.
And then election will be here, you can just
Mhm,
kind of
exactly.
concentrate on that.
Yeah, and Christy did let me work from home last week, and that was huge. I mean, I would have never been able to get those financial statements done. So just, sometimes I'll come in here and sit and work just to, if I'm really trying to get focused on stuff, so.
But it was not the whole week, so just.
No, just a day, yeah,
It was
a day and a half,
a day
a day and a half, yes, a day and a half, yes, so, and I was available, obviously, it was just no distractions, and I was able to, when you're working those numbers, sometimes you have to just
Yes.
walk away from it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I'm hoping another 12 to 15 hours, I'm hoping.
Good.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Is there any more unfinished business or other business? Yeah, we've got it all.
About election workers.
Yeah, I think we're sitting good, yeah, we're sitting good, we will start training them, I think in 2 weeks.
How many?
We'll,
How many do you need?
I think we have 12,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
all of them,
Yeah.
yeah, because we'll be working, the mail the absentee ballots all get processed.
Yeah.
And so we can't process those until the day before. So the June 10th, we can start processing all those. So that, it sounds like that's most of the 10th and then all of the 11th, they're working down there. So there'll be, we are going to hopefully today be able to get our logic and accuracy testing, the preliminary one done. So that our staff can get comfortable with the equipment, and then we'll have a public one here shortly too. So, yeah, it's coming along. My girls have done a great job with keeping it all going, and yeah, good support from the state and
Good.
everything going good.
Okay, any more business before the commission? Okay, hearing none,